All right. Now, have we got anybody here from the original team that Sully Fontaine brought in country?
Say again, Steve.
The original team for B-41 was the team that Sully Fontaine brought in. And let's see what I can do here. I will share the screen. Okay.
Opportunities like
that is the original B-41 team. I don't know if you all can see that.
Yep.
And oops. I don't see anybody here right off the top of my head that was on that team. I think Jeffers is there, but he's not here right now. He's still alive. And I think there's another fellow still alive. Anyway, we don't have anybody from that team here, so I will stop sharing that. And all right, who is the next earliest person around here?
This is Tom Coangelo. The screen says Lucy. That's my granddaughter.
Okay. All right. So who here was there earliest of this group that's here?
I was there.
Say again?
66.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, I was the provincial RFPF advisor. And so I was working on the MACV side of the mission, but I was SF. And after about 6 months of that, I moved out to A414 as the commander. So I'll be seeing you later on in the 414 group. And I'm wondering if that John Harrelson is the same one that won a Silver Star the day I was running the CNC ship.
That's right.
How about that? It's been a long time, John.
Sure is. I think about it all the time. It was one hell of a clash.
Yeah. We soldiered together at Fort Polk after we left Vietnam.
We did. I had a company in Tigerland next to Dave Barato up there.
Yeah, that's right.
I was not in the B team itself. I came from Phu Quoc Island in February of '67 to put in Mi Phuc Tay, and that's when I fell under the B team. I wanted to join you guys and listen to what happened at the B team. As you know, quite often we didn't get together very much. It's like, do you know so-and-so? Well, the next camp over, but I didn't see him. So I wanted to listen to what B-41 had to say from the perspective of being down at Mi Phuc Tay.
Steve, I was there 69, 70.
I was there November 68 to February 69.
And I would have been there from probably about June of 68 till I think about November of 69 when I moved out to Tuinan.
I was there from October 67 to during the Tet Offensive, and then till March, and then I went to King Kwan High, 8412. I was a medic.
Yeah, I was there in the summer of 69. I guess really the late winter 68 to summer 69.
I was there from October until January, end of January, 1st of February of 68 and 69.
All right, well, the times are all recorded to some extent on the list that I gave you. What I'd like you to do is tell me what was going on at the times in somewhat chronological fashion. And what really was the function of that B team, other than resupply of its subordinate A teams? In 4 Corps, they kept changing the B teams all around, and the numbers kept changing. It was hard to keep up with. Anyone want to address that?
I can address from 69 to 70.
Go.
So the function of the B team at that time, as I think everyone knows, we had 120 kilometers of Cambodia-Vietnam border to watch, to interdict. And we had the 4 A teams to do it, 413, 414, 415, and 431. And function as the S3, my function on a daily basis was to get an air package out of the aviation community and select a spot where we thought that based on intel, there might have been somebody trying to come across either during the day or at night, and to go to those areas, put those loaches down on the ground to scout, put the gunships at 1,500 feet, put myself at 500 feet in the CNC chopper, and commence an operation. And then I would, when I needed troops, I would pull from one of the A camps, depending on where we were. So if we were in the central area, maybe I'd pull from Walter Kluwer's camp at A413 or one of the others. And that was pretty much our job. The enemy didn't really want to stay in our area. That was not good for them. There was no place for them to stay. They needed to get through our area and on down more to the central part of the Delta, where there were more people and there was more rice growing and all that. So, I mean, if you ask what our function was, I'd say the function of the B team was to monitor and support the 4A team, but also use them to conduct offensive operations to make sure we could seal off the border. That's my recollection.
Your border was basically north of the Mekong, whereas the 44th Special Tactical Zone went from Chao Duc south, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, a good part of our border was the Vam Cote River, which kind of ran east to west rather than north to south like the Mekong did.
Mm-hmm.
And the province was so low lying that when the tide was coming in the South China Sea, the Vam Cote ran backwards.
Yeah.
Notice that.
We were, as I recall, we were 110 miles from the South China Sea and the elevation was 9 feet.
It's funny, I remember it being 3 feet below.
Yeah. Yeah, the monsoon.
Yep.
I remember getting there in 68. And Wes Haline was the B team commander. Lloyd Hayes was the XO, and whoever was the S1 had just left. And so I became the de facto S1. You know, that was sort of a, waiting for an A team to open up.
Well, here's a map of the Moc Hoa city area.
Mhm.
And up on the Special Forces Photos website, there's an aerial photograph of the camp. I hope the folks who got my email will go sign up on the Special Forces Photos and put some of your pictures up there, because it would be a good supplement to what we've got up there.
I've got a nice aerial of A414, but nothing with B41.
Well, you can put it A414. There's an album for every single camp in Vietnam on specialforcesphotos.com. And you sign up there with your whole name, first name, middle initial, last name. I get bots, Russian bots running porn sites coming up there on a regular basis. I got to throw them out. So if I don't see a name that I recognize, I toss them.
What was it? Special Forces Photos?
Specialforcesphotos.com. And the other website is specialforcesbooks.com, of course.
Yeah.
I've got about 300 photos, and I'm not sure if I've shared them with you or not, but I've shared them with a couple of folks. I'll be glad to look through them and post them. An awful lot of my photos are are going to be of A414 and A415. But I do have some of B41 too.
Well, spread
And
them out.
also, yeah, I was there, later on in the war too. I was there with the Fink Command, and I got a lot of photos from that area.
Yeah, I think I've got an album for them as well. So all the things you can put up there will ultimately be good. That is an evolving website.
Yeah, it's the old deal of, if we don't start sharing this stuff pretty soon, it'll all be gone.
The other thing about that website is once you're signed in and you're authorized to be up there, if you go see a picture, like Al puts a picture up there, and you want to say, I'm the third guy from the left, you can add that to the caption. So that website is very useful in that way.
Hey, my name is Will Williams, and I was in Moc Hoa from about June of '68 till October or so when I went out to Time Tree, A414. And it's good to see you there, Captain Kittredge. It's been a while.
It's been a while, Willie. And I remember Willie as being my XO out there.
Yeah, you've aged well. My brother Jim was a Cobra pilot down in Benelong, and on his second tour, he knew I was going over, and he arranged for me to go to Moc Hoa because it was a real good hot area. Thanks a lot, Jim. And I was the assistant S2 there, and well, of course, we did intelligence for that province. It was the province capital, and I'd give briefings every morning to our commander, Colonel Hairline, Lieutenant Colonel Hairline, and our counterparts. And yeah, Moc Hoa, it was 3 feet above sea level, except during the monsoon, when it was like 3 feet
That's
below.
not Colonel Hairline. He was talking about briefing.
Oh,
Colonel Hairline's dead.
well, that is, I mean,
Turn off your mic if you're not talking to all of us.
Just did.
One thing I'd like to say is I looked at the roster for B41, and every commander, every XO, and every sergeant major for that detachment are now deceased. Every one of them.
Wow.
They were all a lot older than we were.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And so, well,
They were older than me.
They were.
Sergeant Major Zerniak was there when I was there, and he lived not too far from where I live, and I did meet him after the war. And in fact, I went to his funeral after the war.
Hey, there's Jason here saying hello to Willie. Hello to Al.
Yeah. Say what?
I said it's good to see you guys.
Oh yeah, it's been
Been a while.
9 years. Yeah, you're in silhouette. There's so much light behind you.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, my name is not Nellie. That's my wife's name.
Okay, what's your name?
I'm Ron Benson from '67. I was a B-41. I was S1. Was at Ben Tantone 413 before that, a couple of months, 3 months maybe. Then I moved up to B-41 and had a lot of fun at B-41. I'm Ron. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Nellie was on my. I'm on her computer, my wife's computer.
But it looks like there's 2 of you on that computer.
Yeah.
I'm going to dump the other one.
Okay. I'm glad to see Stephen Sherman and appreciate to see the guy that's cranking this thing up for us. I don't know if you want to hear anything. I wrote down some interesting stuff. I knew the Mike Force was out there. Major Bruchette. I don't know if anybody remembers Major Bruchette.
Unfortunately, I do.
Okay. I remember him as being kind of a wild card a little bit. I was supposed to go to work for him, and then at Ben Tantone, 413,
It's gonna be on.
Ton told me, don't do that.
Higher
Go
headquarters.
to the Mike Force, because you'll either go home hurt or dead. And it turns out he was probably right. I remember 152 body bags.
Just last,
Ron, something happened when I got rid of the other Nellie. You ended up going with her. I have to figure out how to get her out of the waiting room. Ron, somebody else take over here while I try to find Ron's voice here.
Hey, I have a question for Bill Aldridge. Bill, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks. I'm Terry McIntosh.
Yes, sir.
And I'm wondering, I'm familiar with your name. We were at Moc Hoa at the same time.
That's correct.
And I earned my combat badge on February the 4th, 69, on an operation with Colonel Hairline, you know, being overhead. And I was always trying to remember who that officer was that I was with. It was, I think you were a lieutenant at the time, and I was with a lieutenant. And I don't remember his name, and your name has come up before. I think you were also involved in an action concerning Willie later.
That's correct.
Yeah, but I'm wondering about, the date was February the 4th, 1969, and my first combat encounter. And I was just wondering if you had any memory of that, or if that was you at all.
That was me. And,
Wow, great, great.
yeah, I remember coming in that LZ.
Yeah.
That was quite a day. That was quite a day.
It was a long, hard day. Yeah. And
Yeah.
very sobering in a lot of ways, you know, rewarding, but also sobering. Yeah.
I just come out of Maiden High 416, and Colonel Harold told me, he said, "You're going to have a lot of fun here."
Yeah.
And sure did.
So
my first assignment there, I don't know if Captain Kittredge remembers it, but I was his assistant S1 for.
I remember that. I was thinking you were the S2 or the S1. Yep.
Yeah, I was your assistant. Then I became Captain Bidwell's assistant in the 3-shot, the assistant S3. Yeah, and that's how I got to pull those operations with Colonel Hairline and Terry and Bob Chavez, all those guys.
Well, I wondered for years now. I'm trying to remember who exactly it was, and I thought it was you, but so I'm really glad to meet you again face to face here on Zoom.
Well, after we exchanged those texts, I reached out to Nat Frelia and had some good conversations with Nat before he passed away.
Oh, good, excellent. Yeah, we were in contact quite often. Even I was able to go visit him several times.
He had lost a lot of his pictures and maps and stuff, and I had just been to the National Archives.
Yeah,
and had a bunch of that material and sent it to him. He enjoyed getting it.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, I'm glad that happened.
He was my patrol buddy at the Maiden High. And that's how I got to know him.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still in touch with his family, his children and his wife.
I don't know if y'all heard it or not, but last year I'd reached out to Colonel Hairline's daughter. I'd seen her name on some website, and I called her and talked to her on the phone for about 2 or 3 hours. And we just shared with her stories about her daddy.
We're friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, I think you are too, aren't you?
Yeah. I've also talked to Colonel Hairline's daughter.
Yeah.
She wanted to know quite a lot about him, and I also sent her some pictures that I had. And then you may or may not know, you know, the connection between you know, Colonel Hairline's daughter and me and several of us was June Collins. Anybody remember June Collins?
The actress, June Collins?
No. June Collins, the exotic dancer who you know, did the club scene for us all. But then she was instrumental in the club scandals of that era. The one that ended up taking down the first sergeant major of the Army, Bill Woolridge.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
Yeah. And to tell you the truth, I thought she was, you know, she's older than most of us. I figured she was, you probably passed away, but she's not. And she's living in Australia again now. I think she's 87, 88, somewhere in that time frame. But yeah, she's one of my friends on Facebook.
You're talking about the blonde girl that had the strippers from Philippines?
That's it. That's it. And Colonel Haleland took up with her. Yep.
Yep, that's what.
Yep.
I remember. My wife's laughing.
Yeah.
I'd taken Colonel Hairline over to the airstrip to catch a helicopter to go to some meeting. And she landed in a helicopter about 50 yards away. The old man had already belted in.
Yeah.
He said, Bill.
That was her.
Yeah, Bill, go see what she wants.
Yeah.
I ran over and talked to her. I said, yes, ma'am, what can I do for you? She told me what she did. And I ran back over to the old man and said, hey, here, she brings some dancing girls in. He said, you set that up. And I did. And then the rest is history.
I'm going to ask questions. This is Captain Benson here. Am I back? Can you hear me? Am I back on? I don't see
You're
my
back
picture.
on now. You're
Yeah, you're
back.
back on now.
You can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I'm a computer illiterate a little bit. So you have to, did you get my story about the Mike Force?
No,
No, you ended, I messed you up. Go ahead.
Something to do, well, Major Bruchette was a Mike Force guy. And
and what
I
year are you
remember-
talking about?
it was 67, 68.
All right,
And they were called into Bentanton 413 at night one time to go help them out. And so the result was they got ambushed. And we had, at Moc Hoa, we had about 100, either 32 or 52, I forget which one, body bags next morning we had to deal with. I don't know if you heard me say that before.
Yeah.
I did say, you did hear it?
No.
Yeah.
No, okay. Anyhow, so there was 2 Americans involved. All the rest were, well, I think he had a lot of Chinese soldiers that he had hired. But at any rate, so I went back to Moc Hoa, B-41, and got a bunch of ice and put it in the American body bags. And of course, planes came and picked them up. And I don't know exactly what happened. I didn't know what to do with that many body bags at one time, with bodies in them, of course. At any rate, Major Bruchette was a force to be dealt with, I guess you'd say. He'd go in most anywhere. So anyhow, I was there, and then we had, of course, the big Tet in 68. Moc Hoa got hit pretty good. I got a little wounded there. My left eye has been going since 68. B-40 rocket blew up, and it just happened to hit me, the back flash or whatever it was, hit me in the left eye, and I had to go to Saigon for about a week. And they couldn't sit. Well, I can't see out of it now. Get a little check from the government. That's one of my stories. So anybody there during late 67, 68?
yeah, I was there. I was a medic on that B-41 team
Yeah,
in March.
yeah. I can't remember too many people. I remember more, I was at Bentanton. I remember more about that because I was just going in country, and of course we were going out every day or every other day or twice a week. Remember Sergeant Woolridge. I think we're going to have 413 tomorrow, but I remember a lot of good stories from 413. You remember Hot Wire, Vietnamese guy that we call Hot Wire? He was always a maintenance man and could do anything with electricity. We called him Hot Wire.
I think I remember Hotwire.
Yeah, he was quite. And then we had a Chu Hoi had come over from the VC, and I forgot his name, but he was out in the rice paddies out there, had his own house, and if you wanted to find anything about where the VC were, he could give him an Everroon motor or a Boston Whaler or something, and he would give you some good information to find some people that we might want to eliminate. He also had a big villa in Ho Chi Minh City, which of course was Saigon then, and he would invite people up if you gave him the requisite amount of boats or whatever he needed. Generators. I think he was big on generators because he was out, no electricity. but I forgot his name. But he was probably working both sides of the game, of course. And
Speaking of working both sides, did anybody remember Major Tree? He was the provincial chief of staff on the Vietnamese side, and he'd been a Viet Minh when he was a kid. And he was so smart and so competent. I always suspected he was an undercover VC agent, but he was a real good man, I thought. And he was my counterpart when I had the RFPF mission. And I just wondered if how long he stayed there. Does anybody remember him?
I think I might have gone to a party with him because he would sometimes have a little party, and I remember he would have the women sitting over on one table like that, looking real nice and everything. I don't know exactly why they were there, but I guess just to kind of entertain the troops. But he would once in a while throw a little party. Can't remember what the events were. It might have been Christmas or something special.
Yeah, Benson, I think you and I probably overlapped. I'd probably moved out to the end of the airfield to 414 by the end of 67.
Right. Yeah, we probably did. I some reason, of course, I'm 81 years old, so I got an excuse about memories.
I have no excuse at all.
Were you 78? Yeah, well, I remember a few little things. Let's see what else I got down here. I remember when they hit us on Tet, the afternoon before that, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning when they hit us, Moc Hoa, B-41. And in the afternoon, they sent their B team on the other side of Moc Hoa to kind of draw us over that way. So we went over there and we're trying to stop them from coming. And what they were really trying to do is get all of our troops to go in the opposite direction and then not be there when they would attack us on the opposite side. I'm trying to think of north, south, east, west, but I can't remember it. But if they came in, I think the B team came in on the northeast, and their regular guys came in on the probably southwest. But I remember 3 o'clock in the morning, I was still up. I'd been officer of the day or whatever it was. And when the first mortars came in and machine gun fire and all that kind of stuff. And not too long after that's when I got wounded in my eye, but kept on going and we did pretty good. I don't know if you remember, there's a Catholic church right next to B-41. And the next day after everything calmed down, we called in some helicopters and stuff. There was still 14 VC in that Catholic church holed up. And we were shooting at them, they were shooting at us, et cetera, and lots of holes in the church. So they put out a white flag. They decided to surrender. So that was great. But we had this big lieutenant who was not Special Force qualified, who had transferred in because he wanted to get some Special Forces on his record. He decided that he wanted to get a KIA. So first man out the door of the Catholic church, he shot him.
Yes.
Killed him. The other 13 went back inside. So we had to have a battle for quite a long time after that. And one of my favorite sergeants, and I forgot his name, got severely wounded after that. Bullet went through it didn't go through his brain. Well, it did take a little bit of it, right through his eye socket, and went on back and took a little bit of the brain. He couldn't think that well after that. I'm not immediately, but in the long run. I saw him back at Fort Bragg when I went back. But so next SOG thing that came down and said, you got to send somebody. Guess who was sent? That lieutenant. And it wasn't one of them things where maybe if you had anybody who wants to go, we had to pick a couple of people, send them to SOG. And it's a little bit macabre, but his second mission with SOG going on Ho Chi Minh Trail, or maybe it's North Vietnam. He didn't make it back. But we were very upset with him when he did that kill, and we had some other problems.
Well,
too,
I remember that incident,
yeah.
and I believe the Viet Cong was in a tower, a water tower across from the compound, and he gave up. And when he approached to give himself up, that's when the lieutenant shot him dead.
Right.
And
It could have been a water tower. I thought it was a church.
well, it was, yeah.
I think it was a church, yeah.
Okay, but it was a cowardly action, and
Right. Yeah. That wasn't a good thing.
I'm gonna look around for a picture that somebody sent me. Well, I was at Fort Polk by then, by the time Tet actually went down. But somebody from my old team 414 sent a picture of a whole pile of bodies after that church steeple finally got cleaned out.
Yeah, well, afterwards, we went around searching because you could smell the bodies, the VC
Sure.
bodies all over the place. And we found, I forget now, I'm going to say 300 bodies or 160 bodies. There was a lot of bodies that the VC hadn't carried off. A lot of times they would try to carry off their bodies, take them with them when they left. But we found tons of them in the ditch and bloated, you know how their
Oh, yeah.
clothes would get all big and pop the buttons and all that kind of stuff. It was quite a thing.
Yeah, there was a big old hole that we used for destroying munitions out at the end of the airfield.
Yeah.
And I got a picture of that hole damn near filled with bodies.
Yep. Unbelievable. What are you gonna do with them? Well, I will tell you one thing. My first thing I had when I went to Vietnam, I had to burn a Cambodian because he had committed suicide. He had been shot the same way this guy through his eye, but didn't kill him. And he felt so bad about himself, he finally took a grenade and huddled down over it and blew it up. And he didn't die for about 2 hours after that. But anyway, I had to go down Ben Tan Ton village there and get tram trees to burn him. So I went down and bought a load of tram trees, brought them back, and put him on there. All those tram trees had burned up and he was still there. I had to go down and buy another batch. And but yeah, I think I made a lot of friends when I first went to Ben Tan Ton because of taking care of business like that. And of course, played volleyball with them, ping pong. Went out in the boondocks with them. So I actually played a little soccer with them at Moc Hoa. I don't know if you remember, they had a soccer field in Moc Hoa down there somewhere. And I'd never played soccer in my life. I was football, basketball, and baseball. And he said, "Oh, come on, Dai Wei." I think I was a Dai Wei by then. I was a lieutenant first. I think I made captain, but I learned to play soccer there just a little bit. I came back and I've been a soccer coach for 40 years now. So, I enjoyed my stay at Moc Hoa and the whole thing, quite frankly. Sort of an anthropologist, so I was always looking to see what they were doing and why they were doing it, and how they were farming, and hospitals they didn't have, and the medicines they did, and the Chinese medicine. Remember Chinese medicine? And then they would bring, and you were in the medic, one of them was a medical?
Craig?
what's that?
I remember at Ben Tan Ton, they would bring their kids to our medics. We would let them come a couple times a week. And that's when they were afraid for their little children to have the Chinese medicines. Chinese medicine was so strong.
I kind of felt that I had,
Yeah.
the reason I came out of Vietnam alive is because I got to do some good things for the Vietnamese people.
Oh, really?
Running medical operations outside of the King Quan was one of the things I really enjoyed doing. I got to tell you, 3 months into that war, I felt we were fighting for the wrong side, especially when they land in on payroll day and they pay off the troops, and then be one of the officers collecting the $10 bounty from each guy to be on the special forces teams. So I just that war has really, I have not thought about that war since getting prepared for this meeting this morning. And I wish I had been more educated before I went. So I really felt that we really made a major mistake going in there and fighting the Viet Cong.
Well, I came out of it with some of the same feelings. Winning the hearts and minds, which was Special Forces training, with carpet bombing probably didn't work. And Agent Orange probably didn't work. And I remember riding in helicopters, and the helicopter pilots say, "What's this?" And they would dive down, and somebody be riding a bicycle and go, boop, 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 maybe hit the bicyclist or not. I don't know. Guy jumps off the thing, and we keep going. I remember L-19.
Right there.
Used to go in L-19s with machine guns on the wings and the rockets and all that. And we go out, of course, Ben Tanton 13 was a free fire zone. So anybody out there fishing during the day, we dive on him, cranking up, you know, not good. Anybody fishing at night, we had a captain, I'm not gonna say who it was, but he was wanting to send in the KIA stuff. So he would shoot those fishermen, and the villagers didn't like that. So we didn't win many hearts and minds with that. Even though we did build them some little trains and give them some generators to give them a little electricity out in the boondocks, but I don't think that makes up for carpet bombing. So I'm kind of with the gentleman that talked about we didn't do it exactly right.
Or whatever we did from our end, the corruption and the stress on the population after the war far exceeded what happened during the war. And as we see from the Vietnamese that we have over here, who kind of appreciate what they've got here, they really didn't understand, and it was very difficult. I mean, I was an S5. It was difficult to tell them what communism meant. And now we're in a situation in this country where our own kids don't understand what communism is all about. So, you know, that has to be sorted out somehow.
Well, that's the general population doesn't understand what communism is. They get confused with communism, socialism, capitalism. If you ask the general population to define any of them, you're going to get varied answers, and most of them are ignorant.
It depends who's trying to kill you or shut you up.
Well, I agree that we were fighting for the right cause, and I'm not sure we were doing it quite the right way. But tough, it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And my opinion is, particularly with all the American units, and whether we had always the turnover of the leadership because everybody wanted to get command combat time, and we probably ended up, we killed a lot of people, but for everyone we killed, we probably converted another one over to be a VC.
Right.
I like the air medal people. Remember those? They came to be in Tanton one time, and we did the air assault thing. We didn't want to get on those damn helicopters and go air assault thing. I mean, everybody and his brother up to Hanoi knew we were coming. And so we got on 14 helicopters and we did this and that and the other. And it was just, and the commander was like 10,000 feet in the air, however high a helicopter can go. And he was writing himself up, you know, combat air medals and that really made me, I don't want to curse much, but it pissed me off. Kind of thing. And people, I had one guy, a captain, I'm going to say who it is, that we were out skiing behind our balsam whalers, actually skiing just like you would down at Miami Beach somewhere. And he was getting back in the boat, and he caught his big toe, or his little toe actually, on the side of the boat and broke it. He had one of the sergeants put him in for a little medal in combat, wounded in combat. I mean, come on. Saw a lot of that. But anyway,
let me address some of that. You know, as the S1, and Bill Bill Allwards can probably verify this. You know, our main job was taking what you guys sent from the teams. You sort of send it in a little envelope or something like that, and we would take it. You had to write it up. You had to write it up into a medal, and our job was to do a lot of writing. And I do also remember in a couple of cases where people had accidents and stuff like that, and by the time it got all done, they were a hero.
I got it. Well, it's not like unlike today or any other day. Things go like that. Yeah.
Joan Collins was there when I was there after November of '68. And Colonel Hairline wanted to spread the wealth, so he took her in a Boston whaler with 2 sergeants down to Mifukte. And then they decided to go to the Camp West. I don't know if that was Tuinan. They went right, they went to that area where those 2 massacres from A411 happened in early '68.
It was Tuinan. I was CO out there when they pulled up.
And they made contact on their way to the camp to the west. And the story went that the 2 sergeants were the only ones sober. And one of them suppressed fire with the machine gun. The other did a 180 with the boat. And apparently they both got Bronze Stars to keep quiet.
Sergeant Morris got shot in the leg, I believe it was. He got medevac, and Sergeant Fernandez was. They were both drinking. Morris and Fernandez were big drinking buddies with Colonel Hairline. But and they went out. They would go out and water skiing and all that stuff. And one day they got a case of beer, as you said, and decided they were going to come around and visit all the camps. And I'm never really sure if they got into an ambush or if they were, firing something up. And Sergeant Morris got shot anyway. The only person that's alive now that was there was June Collins, and she's probably not talking.
Who was that other lady comedian that came to B41? Oh God.
Martha Ray came and
I think Martha Ray.
Oh yeah, Ray. Right.
Martha Ray.
I played poker with her. I'm
geez.
talking about cards now.
Did she drink you under the table? Because I've seen her drink a lot of people under the table.
Absolutely, the whole group. 3 o'clock in the morning, she's still up there drinking.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Unbelievable. I think she came to Ben Tantone too. Can't remember that. I have to.
She
but
came
I
to
remember B41 for sure.
Yeah.
She was great.
She was at Mifukte for a few days too.
Yeah.
In early '68.
Now, when I first got to Moc Hoa in '66, it was a real bad flood that year. And I remember seeing pictures of Maggie up to her armpits in water. She was visiting down at, I guess it was,
Can't hear something.
I say we lose sight. Yeah, we lose sound, I think. Yeah.
Y'all remember the NATO trailer? Remember the NATO trailer? There was a trailer there for the colonel at B41. You remember that?
Yeah.
NATO shut down, and I guess France, and they moved a bunch of those trailers. I guess they went to Holland or somewhere, Netherlands. But anyway, they brought a bunch of those trailers, small, to Saigon. And me and this other captain, I think he was the, I forgot what he was. Anyhow, we went up and got a trailer, brought it back for our colonel, brought it back under a helicopter. And we about halfway back, the damn thing started swinging and like that. And the helicopter said, "We're gonna cut it loose." I said, "No, you can't cut it loose, though. Just keep on going." We just barely got there before, I mean, it was about to turn the helicopter over or something. But anyway, we set it down, and Colonel liked that a lot. It's a nice little trailer. Had all the amenities, etc. So got him a trailer. I think it must have been in 67 sometime, fall of 67.
It was still there in 68 because that's where Colonel Hairline, it was out back on the back corner of the compound.
Exactly.
And,
Helicopter that in there.
It was still there 69, 70.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, it was. That's where Colonel Healy lived in that trailer. Why did he get medevac out of Moc Hoa?
Yeah.
Anybody know?
We got a mortar attack and he got hit in the belly.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
And they evacuated him. Major Brown, the XO, became acting CO, and then a Colonel Merritt come in. But you was speaking of Maggie. I was in S4. I run the work chopper 2 days a week to the A camps. She came in with 2 cases of vodka. And she wanted to go to all the A camps. And the colonel said, Maggie, you can't go. It's too hot out there. She asked him, what's your date of rank? He told her, she said, I outrank your ass, so I'm going.
That Colonel Healy she was talking to? Is that Colonel Healy?
The one that got medevac, yes.
Yeah, okay.
That
I was there in
69.
69. Yeah,
Yes.
I was there. Yeah, she was a honey.
But I got there was no S4 officer till Captain Lee came in.
Yeah. He come off at one of the A camps to there.
Yeah, and Captain wasn't what? That was Max Dog. The helicopter blew up. He was going to Hawaii. Copernall, S5. Sergeant Stoll, pardon?
I was going to say, he wasn't going to Hawaii. David Copernall he and I shared the hooch there in the compound. And he was heading home. He was taking his whole baggage down to Canto on the work chopper.
That's correct.
No, sir. No, sir. He was going to meet his fiance in Hawaii. Me and Sergeant Stoll went down to try to recover bodies. They'd already took his remains to Canto. We inventoried, and I took all of his stuff in, turned it in, and his ring was missing when they got it home.
Was he a redhead? Was he a redheaded?
Yes, sir. That's the only way. That's the only way they identified him.
But he took a round supposedly from the artillery, Arvin artillery, is what we was told there in Moc Hoa.
No, I'm sorry.
Do you remember Danny? Do you remember Danny? The
Danny, the interpreter?
Interpreter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Danny out at 414 for a while.
Hey.
No, I beg your pardon. He was B-41.
Yeah. The story we got that he had put a grenade in Captain Copernall's baggage.
Oh boy.
Never heard that. Never heard of
Danny
that.
did that?
Pardon?
You think Danny did that? Booby trapped him?
That's the understand we had. They said he was a double agent.
Well, he was one of those smart, competent ones. It might have been. That
Yeah.
surprises the hell out of me.
But Sergeant Stoll was a medic. But I run the work chopper twice a week.
Lord.
Wow.
I remember one of the worst things about their mortars coming in was the ones that didn't go off.
Yeah.
Stuck in the roof. Remember those?
Yep.
Who wants to get that one today? I don't know.
Well, that's why the demo sergeant was getting additional pay on top of his hostile fire pay.
I'll tell you the truth. That's an ugly job.
Yeah, it is.
And most of them, a lot of them were the old French things too. Them 40, I think they were 40s or something, weren't they? 40 millimeter. Some of the old stuff that
Well,
French
there
had left over.
were 60 millimeters.
We had the 60s. I'm not sure. Seemed like I remember some 40s too.
I'm thinking B-40 rockets from Chip.
Really small.
Yeah.
Y'all remember William Amelon? He was a demo sergeant. Everybody called him Seal
He
Beans.
was in this area and,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, naturally.
Jinx. Harley.
He was a demo guy that had to go around and dig all those unexploded rounds up.
When I
Take them
see
out to that pit y'all were
him,
talking about at the end of the
He's the
runway.
guy that got the silver star.
Yeah.
I got a question about Colonel Stonecipher. Okay, he was still commanding B-41 when I rotated home in December of 67. And you guys are talking about a different colonel in early 68. What happened to Stonecipher is my question. I think he had some stomach troubles or something, because he hadn't been there that long.
Oh, boy.
Nobody knows.
For my time.
Yeah. Before Stonecipher, when I first got there, it was Colonel Joseph Fernandez. He was a real good guy. He wore a 17th Airborne Division combat patch on his right side. And so he'd been in the big war.
I remember our XO was a major, and I don't know, he had replaced a major that I didn't like too much, but he was, the guy that replaced him was really great at B-41. I enjoyed him a lot, and I can't remember his name.
Major Loa for Hawaii, he was Hawaiian.
Yeah, he could have been. Yeah, could well
I
have been.
ran into Loa later on. He was playing a ukulele at a luau at the Halikoa in Hawaii.
So where'd you guys go to R&R? I went to Hawaii.
I went to Hong Kong.
When I went to Hawaii for an R&R, and I came back, coming through Da Nang, Nha Trang, and I got my teeth cleaned or something, and I met this guy I knew back in the States. He said, hey, I think I was a lieutenant then. You want to go another R&R? I said, what do you mean? I can't go another R&R. I already going on mine. He said, well, we just had a guy killed down in Full Corps, and I can sign you up. He said, about 2 months you can go, because he was going to go in 2 months. And I'm not kidding. I went to Australia on a second R&R. I don't know if I owe the government money for that or not, but, but I got 2 R&Rs while I was there. I was
I did the same thing.
Oh, you must have gotten mine then, because I didn't get one.
Oh, well, I don't know. Supposedly it was some guy that got killed, so I guess I didn't get yours.
Oh,
I like you, I went to Hawaii, and then there was a guy down in Kanto who kind of kept track of everything for the R&Rs, and he was a wheeler and dealer, I think. And so he was looking for a minigun, and I somewhere, I don't know where I got it, but anyway, I found a minigun. I was actually going to take the minigun and put it on the berm at 414, but just before then, somebody else had done the same thing, and the minigun took off on him, and you know, cut a sergeant right in half and half.
That was Sergeant Lopez.
Yeah. Anyway, that scared me, so I took and traded him the minigun for wiping me out for saying I hadn't gone R&R yet, and I went R&R to Australia, just like.
Oh, you went to Australia too?
I did, just.
You go to Bondi Beach?
Yeah, I went there winter. It was wintertime when I got there. The first thing we did, goddamn, they had some merchants there were selling us all overcoats and you know, sheepskin this and sheepskin that, but it was, yeah.
Hey, Terry, I might have gotten your R&R. I had 4 of them. Went to Bangkok and Hong Kong and Australia twice.
Well, you stayed there 2 years?
You just didn't know how to do it.
I put in a request and it was denied, so I guess Willie was off.
I'll have to move here and do it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. And
I had a good time.
Looking back, it was a shitty war, but it was the only one our generation had. So, you know, we did our duty. But now look at the North and the South are united and favored trading partners. And what was it all about?
what was it all? I tell you what happened. We were talking about the war and all. When I came back, I joined the Libertarian Party, or it wasn't really a party at that time, but anyway, I got to be a Libertarian, and here's why it happened. We captured about 7 VC or something. Actually, it was from North Vietnam. And we couldn't send them back to wherever you send them back to interrogation or anything. They were wounded, and so we had to keep them for a week. So I went over and started talking to him with a translator. And there was one guy, we had pictures of his family. And I said, well, how come you came down here? How come you came 900 miles, whatever it was, down here to kill me? And I flew whatever, 12,000 miles to kill you. And here we are talking, and we don't matter to each other. And then I started thinking, what the hell is this all about? And so it kind of made me think sometimes the government don't exactly do the right thing. So ever since then, I've been flying the libertarian flag around the house and stuff.
You know, I concluded that no matter what war it is, you know, it's bigger than the soldier. And all the soldier can do is to do his job where he's at to preserve liberty and life. And you have to leave those right.
Sorry about that.
Everybody else.
I agree with you, but it took me a while to, I mean, I did my soldiering.
Talking on another thing. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Well, tell her we said hello, Al.
I got too many things going at the same time, guys.
I was told in the train that it was the war was to keep the population down and the economy up.
There you go. There's a guy back in the 30s wrote a book called War is a Racket. I read that a few times, and yeah, his see, what was his name?
Smedley.
Yeah, right. Smedley, right. Smedley. He's a pretty interesting guy. If anybody wants to read War is a Racket, he wrote that book.
General Smedley.
General Smedley, that's right. He'd been in all these little wars everywhere, all over the place, China, Caribbean, Haiti, you name it.
Smedley Butler?
Yeah.
Smedley Butler, yeah. He was a Marine and made general. He fought in 1898 war and Spanish-American, Philippines.
Medal of Honor winner too.
Huh?
He won the Medal of Honor also.
Yeah, I think he might have gotten 2. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think he had 2.
Yeah, and something to do with a Marine medal that's kind of like the Medal of Honor also. But he was on it pretty good.
Daryl.
Yes, sir.
The little Cambodian young man was on our camp there for a while. Went by Lucky. Was he still there when you left?
Yeah. Lucky came up from MacV. When MacV pulled out, he come up to the compound. Sergeant Will and another young boy that helped in the mess hall, they sent him to school. When I left in August 70, they were still there.
Okay. I just wonder what happened to him because he was there in March when I left.
Yes, sir. He was still there.
Well, I still remember my Co-Tuan and Co-Me at Bien Tanton, and I forgot my secretary at B41. I forgot her name. I got a card from her over there. I could go look it up. She'd give me a card on my birthday or something like that. But those, and the Co-Me and Co-Tuan were actually North Vietnamese had come over when we traded everybody, and what was it, 54 or something? And when a million North Vietnamese went south and 440,000 went north or something, you know, their family had come down, so they were very good at, and I don't know how the heck they got out.
The Christians went south. The Christians went south, and
that's about
atheists went north.
These girls were Catholic.
In Moc Hoa, we had a lot of northern Catholics that had come down.
Catholics, that's it, right.
When that armistice went down. And in fact, the district chief, who was Captain Mann, who was my counterpart when I had the RFPF mission, he was born and raised in the north and had gone to Catholic schools up there.
Yeah. All out of that.
Do any of you remember the Cambodian nurse in the dispensary?
Yeah.
No.
I don't, right off the bat.
When, pardon?
You did.
She was from Cambodia. Tall, slender nurse there in the
Oh,
dispensary.
slender Cambodian? That's pretty unusual.
Yeah, she was tall.
I can
for a
say you remember them all.
Yeah.
Then I called him Doc Stoll, SFC Stoll was the medic while I was there.
Yeah, let me just add something to that. He was a great medic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I started off in B-41, and apparently I didn't do very well because they shipped me off to A413 as the XO. I guess I didn't do very well there because then they sent me over to be the CO at Tunyon, B415. And I spent a few months there, and I got shot, and happened to be in a helicopter at the time. And I don't need to tell you guys, when you get shot in a war zone, you don't want to see the best surgeon in the world. You want to see an SF medic. And
Yeah.
I'm here today because I saw Stoll, and you know, I just want to add one other thing. I know Steve is recording this, and I don't know really what that means or whether it ends up in writing and stuff like that. But just to go back to David Coppernall, and I'll be honest with you too. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I think we all dealt with Vietnam in our own way. You know, we've all had a lot of time to think about it. And in my case, I just kind of blocked everything out when I came back. I must have the ability to do that, but I just, I talk to guys who know names and incidents and all the details, and Jesus, when I look at a name of the roster that Steve put together for BTT or Tunyon, I recognize the names. And I was, XO at one, CO at the other. So, we, like the rest of you guys, we slept together, ate together, fought together. And I just don't remember any of it. I recognize the names, and, it's not like I've got dementia. I mean, my wife maybe thinks I do. I don't know, but it's just that particular experience that I kind of blocked out. But just going back to what I wanted to say about, Steve kind of recording this and so forth with David Coppernall in that helicopter crash. There was a second lieutenant, Wayne Cole, was with him as well. And there was a master sergeant, Rappinport, who was a Mac V. I didn't know him, but anyway, that's it. And if HT Captain Link is still with us there, I see he's muted, but maybe he's still with us. When I got wounded, and they flew me back to Moc Hoa to Stoll, Link had the privilege of hopping in my seat, sitting in the blood. He told me there's a pool of blood he had to sit in. He wasn't crazy about doing that. And then he went back out in the rest of the operation. So anyway, for what it's worth, that's it.
Were you the lieutenant that got shot in the arm?
Yeah.
Okay, I was there at the helicopter when they brought you in.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Stoll was right there, and we loaded you in a Jeep and took you in the dispensary, and then you left and went, I guess, to Canton and then on to Saigon or wherever.
Yeah. That's right. Wow.
I was there. Yes.
When were you at BTT?
Let me think. I was only at BTT for like maybe 6 weeks. So I think it was like January.
68?
No, 69.
69.
So I got there in August 69. And I think I went to BTT, would have been January 70. XO. Campanella was the CO.
I was in 67, so.
Pardon me?
Who was the CO?
Campanella, is that the right name?
Campanella.
That was me at that time.
I'm sorry?
I was CO from August 68 through June 69.
Okay, okay. Okay, well, we're talking BTT, right? Yeah,
T413.
413.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know what to say.
You're saying January 1970, Emmett.
Yeah, January 1970.
And because you got shot in April 1970. I
That's
remember
right.
it well.
Yeah, April 15th. Yeah. So I'm sorry, Tom. Yeah. So like I said, I was only at BTT. Geez, it was like 6 weeks maybe or something like that, and then went over to. But that was in 1970, I guess. So
I know I forgot a lot of things, but the administrative stuff I kind of remember.
Right.
Yeah. Remember at BTT, if you're at the front gate of BTT and there was a canal that went out to the main canal.
Yeah.
That's right.
That canal in 67, we hired a bunch of villagers to dig that because when we were going out, they could see us walking out. So we would get down in that canal in sampans and can go out. So I forget what we paid them, like 3,000 piastres a month. I remember the women digging. It was 99% women digging that canal, and it was quite muddy and all. I was amazed at the women that came out there and dug that canal for us. And it was a pretty good long canal too. But they dug it with, the shovels that they had, which didn't look like shovels to us, but kind of piece of wood or something. That was amazing. Hot.
Did any of y'all remember Colonel Beck? Lieutenant Colonel Beck was the commander at Moc Hoa.
Oh, yeah.
And he was
Remember
killed.
well.
Yeah, he came out and debriefed me after that bad ambush, but he shot up some bomb at low level in a helicopter and blew him up.
I remember that well too.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but he was a good man. Colonel Hairline was my favorite B team commander just because he was such a character. And I met him up in Raleigh, North Carolina, after I'd gotten out. Just bumped into him by accident and reminisced a little bit.
You have June with him?
Huh?
Did he have June with him?
No, he was June. Is that one of the girls?
Yeah. No, I took him. I saw Colonel Hairline at Fort Bragg after the war, and he had June with him at the time.
Is that June Collins?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that was the gal he had me escorting around, and then she ended up in his NATO trailer that night.
No, yeah, it's a long story.
Yeah.
I went down
By
to,
the way, here's my map of Canton Province.
Ah.
I got one
I
too.
went down to Fort Bragg and spent the day with Colonel Hairline when I got back. I didn't have an education, and Sergeant Major Slagle took me for a walk. He said, "Sir, you know you're going to have to go to college, don't you?" I said, "What for?" He said, "They'll kick you out if you don't go." So I'd started college and took a couple of days and went to Bragg and spent a day with Colonel Hairline.
Yeah.
Just a tremendous good time. Yeah, I remember Beck coming in well. If you remember, Colonel Hairline was very laid back and soft-spoken in a way in terms of his briefings. They were very informal. And then Colonel Beck came in, and bam, he wanted everything according to the book and left, right, left, and you can start your briefing now. And he was entirely different bird than Colonel Hairline.
He was company commander in the 10th over in Bad Language, Germany, when I got there in 67.
Yeah, he when he first came in, he didn't wear a CIB, and I looked his looked his information up after he got killed. And he was quite a warrior. He'd been in Korea. I
Yep.
know it for sure. Maybe World War II, I'm not sure, but Korea for sure. Yeah, that was a tragedy to what happened to those guys. I'd started college, and Bruce Wicks, do y'all remember Bruce?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Bruce Wicks sent me a letter and told me what had happened with those guys. They had all been killed. That was a tragic accident.
Sort of a self-inflicted one.
Yes, sir, it sure was. But yeah, if you recall, he was super aggressive.
Yeah.
I can remember the crews complaining about him wanting to set the ship down and try to capture people on foot, that type of thing. He super aggressive.
Yeah.
Was that a seated area or just a bomb that they located?
There was this is according to Bob Bidwell, who went and recovered the body. They were reconning the area, planning on an operation a couple of days later. Had my replacement, Louis Janicio, with him, along with the had Beck's counterpart, the B team from the Vietnamese SF. And my counterpart, or was Eunicio's counterpart at the time anyway, had them all in the helicopter. They were doing a little reconning, and they saw something shiny down there in the canal. Went on down, take a look at it, and couldn't figure out what it was. Bet had this submachine gun, 45 submachine gun, made him look like a gangster. Yeah, and he said, at least this is the radio traffic, according to the radio traffic. Said, well, I'll shoot it up. So he shot it up, and he detonated a 500-pound bomb. And helicopter went into a spin and all this stuff and crashed. And there was other helicopters overhead watching this whole shit as it ran. Anyway, so that's what happened. Killed the whole crew, killed my replacement, killed my previous counterpart, killed Beck, and killed Beck's counterpart. They're all on the wall in consecutive order.
Yep. That's the same story that Captain Wicks had sent me, and that he had sent me a letter like 10 days after it happened. That tracks exactly what he was saying. And they're if you've been to the wall, they're all right there together.
Yep, they are. Yeah.
Talking built helicopter crashes, the air assault thing they used to send down to Ben Tanton and make us get on them and go out and do whatever we did. So one night they were going back to Saigon or wherever they were based. Then we'll come back the next day and go and do it again. So one of the crews said, well, we'll just stay here. So they landed in our little thing. And of course, when they landed inside Ben Tanton, they blew up, all the houses with, the dust and all that. But anyway, so we're drinking and talking and this and that. And then, so one of them says, I really do need to go back because I got something I got to bring back or do something. So they got in a helicopter, must have been 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, took off, and about 300 feet later, they blew up. Some VC was sitting outside Ben Tanton with I don't know what they blew them up with, but the whole thing blew up. Everybody's dead. And that was terrible.
Al, you had mentioned Bob Bidwell. I worked for him for a long time, thought the world of him. I tried to get a hold of him, and as far as I can tell, he's passed away. Do you have any knowledge about him?
No, I saw him here at Fort Bragg many years ago. He was the IG, or assistant IG for investigations. I saw him then, which had been 30 years ago. But I think that the last person that talked to him of us group here would be Terry McIntosh. He interviewed him for the documentary he did, and he was living in Florida. Is that correct, Terry?
Yeah, that was 9 years ago, and I haven't had any contact with him since then.
Yeah, well, according to Steve, he's listed as deceased now.
As far as I can determine, that's correct.
Hey, Ben, you might remember Mike Doherty. He was the S1 at B-41.
I remember that name.
Yeah, he'd been commanding down in A411, and then he was gonna go up to the C team for some reason, but he hadn't been to the career course, so they kept him at B-41 as the S1. He and I had been platoon leaders together in Germany in a leg unit. And I heard later on that he'd been put in for the Medal of Honor for something he did with SOG or something.
Wow.
Anybody have any idea what happened to Mike Doherty?
Okay, I'm there, I guess. I don't know who that is. I kind of trying to figure out my volume.
Bill, you're all right. Bill, hang up the phone.
Oh, did anybody ever jump out of
I said host disabled something.
No, just hang up the phone. Bill Amelon, hang up the phone.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hang up the phone.
I'm on the phone.
Hang it up.
This is live TV.
You're there.
I'm still the same old dumbass if you can hear me.
You're fine.
Hey, Bill Amelong, I just mentioned you about 5 minutes
I can see
ago.
all you guys laugh, but I can barely hear you. I don't know how to get my volume up.
Last time I talked to you, Bill, you were at a duck camp in Arkansas or something like that.
Everybody remember jumping out of a helicopter?
As soon as you figure out how to turn up the.
Over on the right is a little thing that shows a
Oh,
microphone.
yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta jump in.
From,
What was the
did
question
I
about
read
jumping out of helicopter?
413,
Yeah, I got one.
413, Ben Tantone, LLDB, whatever they call it, BDs.
If I could get my volume up, I'd be fine here.
Somebody
I
ton,
don't know what to do on that, and I don't want to hit any buttons to lose anything.
Hey, Al, I have a question for you, if you remember. We were on those jumps with the Vietnamese locals there out of Moc Hoa. Do you remember how many jumps we made that day? Was it 2 or 3?
Yeah, yeah, I made 2, but yeah, you know, they brought in a what the hell is a helicopter? I haven't seen one.
34s.
CS-34, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 34s, I think it was. Yeah, anyway, it quite disorganized. And I was damn glad to jump because you know, they pulled everybody's static line out, and they were all tangled up all over the floor there. And I said, God damn, somebody's going to get strangled when somebody jumped out of here. But I was happy to jump both times.
Yeah.
And the most exciting thing was I got on the ground on one of them and rolled up my chute and all that stuff, and I'm heading back to where the chute turning point was, and there was a bunch of rice paddies and stuff there, and a goddamn green snake. I think it was one of those one-step snakes. It was on a rice paddy, and it just get it on off, and it scared the crap out of me. I tell you that.
So what year was that you jumped? Because I jumped twice also at Moc Hoa.
Yeah, it was in, would have been 1968.
It was when?
68.
What time of the year? Do you remember, Paul?
Well, I was still at B-41, so it would have been toward the late part of the year, but probably in the October, November timeframe.
Yeah, I think I've jumped on the same time, so we must have been there together.
Might have.
It was sometime in '67 that the Vietnamese brought in an H-34 full of parachutes.
Right.
And I got one. I hate to admit it, but that was my cherry jump.
Yeah, Ron, I was from June until November, I was the S1. What did you do there?
From 60, what? 68?
68, yeah.
I was the S1 there in 68 some too. Maybe
Yeah.
we got our dates mixed up.
Yeah, I was at 68, and then in November, I went to Tuinon 415 and took over from Riley Macy.
I remember the BTT guy, Lieutenant Tan, arranging the 34s also. He was big on that. I don't think they did much with the 34s except that kind of thing and transport people from one village to another maybe and charge them a little bit.
That jump you guys are talking about, William Amelong, myself, and Chico Fernandez made one of the jumps together. And just like Al Kittredge was talking about
Hey, Ron, it looks to me like you had left and I took over your job.
The statics lines were all.
Yeah, and look, you took over from Milton C. Doherty. That's the Mike Doherty I was just asking about.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever I took over from was not there. The slot was vacant.
I think I was a little late getting there because I was at Ben Tantone and lieutenant, and the captain left, and they made me the CO, and then some major up there at B41 wanted me to come up. Whatever, it was a long story. I wasn't too happy coming to B41, but
you worked for Lloyd Hayes, I would imagine, Major Hayes.
Yeah, I think I remember that. But was he from North Carolina?
I'm not sure. He was back here at Fort Bragg. When I eventually came back here.
Yeah.
And they called him a professor because man, he'd write something and he would nitpick it and send it back to you. Why don't you write it yourself, for Christ's sakes?
You're absolutely right, sir. Oh God, give me stuff back.
You remember, right, Bill?
Redo it. Yeah.
Wasn't he a West Pointer?
I don't remember.
Well, the major I remember was a leg, actually, because he would wear a baseball cap everywhere, and
No,
so he was
SF.
No, this wasn't the same guy.
Yeah.
That leg came out to be in Ben Tantone and told me to send 2 men up to district headquarters because it was going to be, I don't know if it was Ho Chi Minh's birthday or when Ho Chi Minh took over or something. And I said, we can't do that because they'll just be targets when they go up there. And he said, you're going to do it, Lieutenant, or you're going to be court-martialed. I said, all right, well, you're going to send me back to the States? And he said, well, we'll see. So about 2 months later, he sent me to B41.
That story I was telling earlier about that jump, that was with Bill Amelong and Chico Fernandez.
Yes.
And somebody took a picture of the three of us with the chutes on, getting ready to get on the helicopter. And I've lost it. I've told my wife I'd give $1,000 to find that picture. That was about the last thing we ever did with Chico before he got killed.
Yeah.
Well, Bill's still struggling with his volume over there.
Well, I worked with Chico briefly, and I know Al, you did too, didn't you?
Yeah, Chico, for some reason or other, he'd be B41, but he seemed to be our liaison with the airboats.
Yep.
And he run a lot of airboat operations, and of course, he always wanted an American to go with him. So he would ask me or Terry or somebody else to go with him, and so that was my first experience with the airboats, and I remember Chico fairly well from that.
Yeah, I remember those guys. Right across the weeds, and if it was wet, the airboats would go.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of them either.
I had was on an airboat operation.
Am I into the meeting, guys?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I was there the day Chico got shot.
Yes, you were.
Sure, checked up. Yes, I was. And yeah, a lot of memories.
All right, now, tell us about it. Because I got my story.
Well, B-41, I was in up at B-41 between King Kwan High after I finished that camp out at 412. I was up at Moc Hoa and got tasked with building the defensive wall. And as soon as I got the wall done, then I was going to be reassigned to 404, the boat section, because Chico got me hooked on the boats. And then there was some kind of a pissing contest out there at 402 between his. That's where we parked the boats out there. And they got into a pissing contest between the Chinese Nungs, which were our boat people, and the 402 VN. And Chico was hauling ass out there. He came and got my Jeep, and he was hauling ass out there with a Jeep. And somewhere before he got to 402, he got hit.
Yeah,
That's the best I can remember it.
That's my recollection too. I wasn't there, but I was by that time. I think I was out to I was at 415. But yeah, supposedly it was on a Sunday, and everybody been drinking, of course, and the airboat folks and the Mike Force folks out there got into a pissing contest, and Chico went out there to try to mediate it. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 402. Yeah, Team Sergeant was Pappy Staggs, was Team Sergeant out there, and he was jumping up and down because Chico, get your butt out of here. You're gonna have a rhubarb, and they were gonna mix it up. And then I guess I didn't go with Chico, but he was going down the runway, and I guess he just didn't get there in time, or they saw him coming. I don't know much more about it, except next thing I knew, he was done.
Yeah, he got shot in the back, sort of the kidney area, and medevaced him to
Canto.
Yeah, made to down to Canto, and they never could get him stabilized down there, and they couldn't get him stabilized to medevac him to Philippines or the States, when I got pulled off from 415 because of some problems over the 414, that's when I stayed for a week with Colonel Hairline at his little trailer, him and June. That's where I met June. I can say that I've swat spit with June Collins and also Martha Ray.
Yeah.
Right. But
I remember Chico.
Yeah, but anyway, I went down to when I had to go to Canto to turn over all my stuff. I had to do the paperwork, turn over all my stuff from 415 and sign for everything at 414. I went and saw Chico. I was supposed to go see Chico down there, and the day I was supposed to go to visit him, he died. Infection.
Yeah.
They never took it in.
I remember that incident. It was out at the runway.
Yeah, on the runway. Yep.
And he was going out there to rescue one of our guys that was caught in the middle like a hero. I think he had 5 or 6 Purple Hearts at the time. And yeah, he was quite a character. But I think I visited him in the hospital, but memory fades. But I do remember that incident.
Colonel Hairline and myself, and I think probably Bill Amelong and some other folks flew down to see him probably the day before he died.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was in and out of consciousness then. He was really suffering. But yeah, we could tell Chico stories all day long. He was something else.
Yeah, Colonel Hairline was I really like working for Colonel Hairline. He was a good guy, but he and Chico were real good friends.
We'd go ahead. We'd gone down to one of the camps in the evening. I can't remember the number, but it's the one that Dai Lock was the commander of, the all Vietnamese camp. Colonel Hairline and myself. William Amelong right there, went down and we had a celebration and gave we locked the Bronze Star. So right about dark, we decided to head back. And the old man and Chico were in the airboat. Bill Amelong and I were in the Boston Whaler. And the tide had gone out.
Yeah.
They were buzzing down the canal. And Bill Amelong hit a sandbar. I was stuck there in enemy country with a couple of M16s. Well, about 2 hours later, they realized we weren't there. Then Chico and the old man and a couple more airboats turned around, came back and got us. Only in America. I think there may have been some alcohol involved. I don't.
I accuse Colonel Airline the only reason he come out to fight us because his water skis were in that Boston Whaler.
That's true.
Remember him water skiing?
Yes.
He'd be water skiing with an car 15 slung over his back. He was a good commander.
Yeah, I loved him. He's a good man. Yeah.
Well, if you're at 413, we used to have this little thing.
You know the story about when I'm losing my internet connection for some reason.
I was going to tell you a story at 413 when things would get a little quiet. We'd what we call run the horseshoe. I don't know if you remember the horseshoe. Was river was like a horseshoe, and we'd get the Boston Whalers and put a bunch of ammunition in there and just run it and just shoot all on the sides of the river and see if we could make it. And we didn't have too much trouble, but B-41 found out about it and they forbid us to do that anymore. And of course, we would do it once in a while anyhow, not tell them. So
one interesting thing about the horseshoe I remember was they had these great big bats down there, like flying foxes, like a 6-foot wingspan.
Yeah. In a fire, if you were in a firefight, everybody quit fighting and went to shooting fruit bats because everybody, all the troops ate them. That happened to me up on bottom of Koto Mountain one time.
I killed one of them bats one time.
Can anybody tell me when the PBR detachment came to Moc Hoa and left Moc Hoa?
Lord.
I don't remember. I remember them being there. I don't know when they left. When I finally got assigned down to 404, I got paired up with Bob Todd, and we were assigned up to the Vinjai camp area. The camp was closed, but we stayed and we were up kind of the Brownwater Navy up there. And I ran 2 boat sections up there. And then Todd ETS'd, and they basically left me up there alone with my boats and the Navy. And I'd come down, and this was in, I guess, May of 70. We knew they had the word that we were closing camps out, and 404 was one of them. But the Navy wanted to keep boats, the airboats. And that was the only reason I was back down in 404 at Kowloon on June 26th when I had a demolition mishap, and because I had to clean out the bunkers, and I was loading parts and pieces and making arrangements for Gordon and Rainey, the 2 Filipino tech reps, to transfer to the Navy up at the SS Benoit, anchored at Chowduck. And then we were going to run off of that till my orders came down for 46 Company. But all that went to hell and back with the old saying, you see the flash and you never hear the bang. And I spent the next 2 years in the hospital.
Reeves and I asked, they got a supply boat every Friday. The only thing them fellas got was steak, eggs, and ice cream.
Yep.
Me and Wilt would go into Canto and Scrounds and get a case of bologna, and they'd give us a case of eggs and a case of steaks just for Case of baloney.
Navy
Yeah,
showed up.
Their choppers, the Seawolves.
The
Their
Navy
choppers,
showed
the
up.
Seawolves, when we were out on the boat with the boats. Yeah, go ahead.
The Navy
we used
showed
to
up
do-
in Moc Hoa with some Pac Vs in late '66. We had a real big flood that year. And these Pac Vs were huge things. They were air cushion vehicles. And they'd float up and they had a big pusher propeller. And we would hang on the outside of this with some strikers. And we got into a big fight up on
Marines and
the
their
border.
family stationed at,
Or Brian.
no.
Oh, or Marine
The
base.
military.
What's
Go ahead.
Anyway, we had a big body count one day. We started hitting Vietnamese and sampans up close to the border, and by the time the fight was over, we were almost up to Svay Rang, which is well inside Cambodia. But it was a legitimate hot pursuit that day, and we captured a bunch of weapons and stuff. And they had a twin 50 caliber mount on the front of this thing with a young swab jockey, third class. And at one point, young swab jockey swung it around. I was hanging on the side right beside him. So he swings the thing around and cuts loose with both barrels. The concussion was so bad, it knocked me down, and I lost a lot of my hearing in the right ear because of that.
I had a little experience with the swift boats and stuff. When I was at 29, they came and set up along a canal because the canal of 29 went right into the bigger river, I think Vam Kadong River. So and we provided their reaction force for them going up and down the river. And the challenge was they'd do it at nighttime. They'd go up and down the river, hoping they'd draw fire, and then we'd be right behind them in a landing craft with a platoon, and we would try to get behind a VC that was ambushing the boats. It worked out pretty good a couple of times, but then it didn't work out that great. And my only American that I felt responsible for that got killed was killed on one of them. And incidentally, I know you all know John Kerry. John Kerry, now famous for being our climate change guy. But anyway, John Kerry was in charge of one of the airboats, not the airboats, but one of the swift boats down there. And I knew him, and you know, I was a captain, and he was the equivalent of captain, a lieutenant. I guess you call him senior lieutenant or something like that in the Navy. But anyway, he was okay then, and we were just both trying to stay alive. But you know, looking back on it, I jokingly said in the book that I wrote, I said, you know, I should have pushed the son of a bitch overboard.
If you recall, he one of his more notable experiences was we had a Green Beret that was blown off his boat.
Yeah.
He circled around and picked him up.
Yeah, I don't remember that one, but my guy, Dallas Pageant, who actually was not a Green Beret, he was on loan to us from MacV. He was a medic, and because, you know, just like you all know that we're always short medics, and we're always short radio operators. So anyway, Dallas was one of my medics, and he was on one of those operations and got himself killed.
The lieutenant that was blown off the boat was Jim Rasmussen. He went to SFOC with me. And I've told everybody, listen, I said, he wasn't blown off that boat. He fell off that boat. He was the clumsiest person I ever knew in Special Forces.
Anyway, we went on a lot of swift boat operations with them, or as a reaction force. You know, hindsight being 2020, probably wasn't a good idea. And I do remember General Abrams coming down for a briefing and all that stuff. And here we are, we're providing the all the logistics for the swift boats. But the swift boat they gave the briefing. I stood there. I shook General Abrams' hand and all that shit, and he didn't even look at me. He just kept right on going. Yeah, he didn't think too much of us. And then shortly after that, I ended up going to I left Tuinam because me and my counterpart were fighting, and they had a little problem up to Tan Tree. So Colonel Hairline yanked me out of 415, and about 10 days later, I'm team leader at 414. But that's another story.
Which team were you commanding, sir, when that patrol got hit and both the Americans got shot up? And it was at nighttime. I brought the reaction.
You need to talk to Willie about that. That's 415,
Yeah.
414.
I didn't get shot up, but I was missing in action for 6 hours. There was Sergeant Middle got wounded, I believe, in his leg. We had walked into a U-shaped ambush on our fifth night out on a long range patrol, and yeah, what a lovely adventure.
Well, I brought the reaction force out. That night.
Did you?
Spent the rest of the night looking for people.
Okay.
Yeah, that was quite a long night. Spooky was up ahead of us and dropping flares, and so that was you on the ground.
I was short too. I had less than a week to go. So
that was
Willie,
me on the ground.
Willie.
Yeah.
One of the problems that one of the reasons that I was transferred to 414 was that everybody up there was short. They were so short that they decided they couldn't go on operation anymore. And Colonel Hairline told me, says, you get up there and get that shit squared away, or I'll find somebody to kin.
Yeah. We weren't supposed to go out if we were less than 30 days to go, but hell, everybody kept going out. I said, well, I'll try one more time. Yeah.
Colonel Beck sent me out. I had 4 days left to go in country. They wanted to send me out in that Australia, jump 5 feet in the air, 5 feet in the air. He went to see him the next day. He said, that's enough. That's enough. And then, God.
Yeah.
I remember the day up there when Beck blew himself out of the sky.
What's that?
Flying into that, flying in that magnetic bombed area up there. I can't remember exactly where it was. And he always liked that grease gun. I had to get it. We had every 45 caliber tracer round that was in Vietnam, and he wanted to kill a VC with his grease gun. And the pilots said you can't go down that low. They did, and boom. And then they asked the airboats to go in and see if they could salvage it. And I said, well, what do you think these boats are made of? They're made out of fiberglass. I said, well, that engine in our F-50 on my front, they made out of aluminum. So we held off. I don't remember how all it got picked up, but I remember that day.
Yeah, well, Bill is sort of verifying you came in a little late, Bill, but we told this story already, but you're exactly right. You're verifying what we said. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody said anything about all the legs that got attached to B-41. Like we had a Navy doctor, I remember. We had an Air Force FAC. We had an Army VR pilot named Boyce Cates, who was certifiably crazy. He put a couple of the big hogs that hold the rocket pods. He put a couple of those under the wings of his bird dog, which he wasn't supposed to do, but he did it anyway. And
you used to fly with him.
Yeah, I used to fly in the back seat. It was scary.
Yeah. I was flying with him one time, and we're up in it's all new free fire zone, and there was a hooch up there, And probably somebody about there, probably a favorite fishing hole, they decided they go fish overnight, so they put a hooch up there anyway. We decided we got fired up. So at that time, he didn't have the pods hooked up, but I'm sitting in the back seat with my AR-15. And I had magazines all set up. You all probably did too. Set up like every other round was a tracer. So I'm shooting out the window, and he's making passes so I can shoot out the window and everything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the goddamn airplane starts going sideways and back and forth and all that stuff. And he's reaching back to grab his shirt. And what the hell? And one of them hot brasses went down my coveralls.
He always used to tell me
Goddamn close to crashed. Yeah. And Bill, if we'd have crashed, you'd have had to write up the story about us being a hero and getting right down. Yeah.
I'd fly with him and have the same setup. And I open the window up, and he'd always tell me the same thing. Whatever you do, don't shoot my wing off.
Did any of you remember down at King Kwan High at 412 the day we splashed that caribou in the wire? It was a mail run, and we had a Snoopy doghouse down there up, and if they throw the mail bag and hit the doghouse, we bought them beer. If they missed, they bought us beer. And somehow they were just screwing around, and they ended up flashing that caribou out there and right outside the wire, and got the two old Papasons got them in, and they were all scared to death that they were all going to get court-martialed and all that and everything. And I remember Farrington, Team Sergeant Farrington, told them, "Don't worry about it, because the time anything gets down here, those Vietnamese out there are going to have an airplane. There won't be much left of it to figure out what went wrong."
Yeah.
And that was before we closed King Kwan, though. So.
Yeah. I got a story that, and some of you probably were recipients of it, but when I was the S1, the funds officer would always take at the end of the month or toward the middle of the end of the month, he would take and figure he could go to Canton and get all the money for to pay the CIDG. And then it'd be my job to land it out at each one of the camps. And sometimes if there was a couple of you didn't have an airstrip, so we would take and make contact with you, fly over real low, and somebody would take and wave out from the team house. And then I would take and kick out probably $100,000 in a mail bag out to each one of your camps. Some of you may remember that.
I remember the parachute part.
Yeah.
There was some parachuting.
I don't ever remember a parachute now. I just took, we would take and drop it, dead drop.
Yeah, I remember we got one Ben Tantone in parachute one time for some reason. I don't know if it was the water or what it was, but we went out and got it.
Yeah.
Were any of you at Moc Hoa when Mr. Wheaton was the M-19 pilot and the two mechanics attached? 69, 70.
Yeah, I remember. He was 69. I was there. Well, no, I was down at the boat site. Well, I could have been.
Mr. Wheaton was off to flew the bird dog. And he had two mechanics. Y'all was speaking.
Yeah.
Pardon?
But I came out.
Go ahead.
I went home on my first extension leave, and when I came back, as I was coming back through in the train, I don't know if any of you remember Master Sergeant Jerry House from up. He was on the scuba detachment up in the train, and of course, anybody going to Mike Force or Mike Force, we didn't get to stay in the big palace. We got shoved down at the other end with scuba tent and that. When I was down there, I was just the young E5, and he talked me in. He says, "Well, you're going to the Mike Force. We're going to go down to we're going to have an all-out assault on Nui Koto." And he said, "You're going to get in on it anyway." He said, "Why don't you volunteer and stay up here with me?" And another young Sergeant, Mike Hammer from B40, got up there, and somehow we got conned into forming the flamethrower company or whatever it was for a while, and when we assaulted Nui Koto. And that brings, and I told Master Sergeant House, I said, "Well, notify B41 what's going on, and I'll be glad to. I don't care. We'll go there anyway." And hell, I was listed as AWOL for like 39 days. And went down, we assaulted. The house was killed on the assault. And I was halfway up the mountain with Hammer and I, and the Indians were throwing flamethrowers to us. And he hit the radio, and he said, "The radio, this is for you." And I just got the message: "Stop whatever the hell you're doing and get your ass off the mountain and report to the first thing flying back to," well, they took me to Canto, and then I went into Sergeant Major. I said, "Hey, I'd like to go back out." I wasn't AWOL. He said, "We know now." He said, "But Colonel Hairline wants your ass back in B41. And he said, "They didn't ask me first, so piss on them." And I felt kind of, nothing I could do about it, but go, "Yes, sir." And but we lost Pat Sergeant House that day on that, but it was hated going up and down that damn pile of rocks out there. We had the top and had the bottom, but we never had the middle. So,
Well, I lost something in Vietnam too. I lost 30 pounds, 165 down to 135, and I lost my left eye and 30 pounds. Because I gained, I don't know how many of you had diarrhea.
Oh, well, you just live with that.
Every Monday.
I
Every Monday
remember
when you had to take that pill.
when I didn't have diarrhea, I thought something was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And taking a shit when you're writing in a sampan. That is difficult.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
The memories.
Of course, they didn't have a whole lot of places to poop, those Vietnamese, so they did it right outside their house or somewhere. Then the floods would come and kind of mix it up a little bit for us. And then they'd grow those greens, and then we'd eat the greens, and that took care of that.
The great circle of life.
Holy moly.
Does anyone at B41 remember that pet python they had?
I was going to ask you about
Snuffy.
I just all I remember is, man, I'd only been there. I was a second lieutenant, as green as they could come, and I arrived in B41, and it's dark out one night. I'm walking down the path, and I didn't know anything about this. And there's this big screen, and it's dark. I couldn't see the screen. All of a sudden, there's a python. He must have been 10 feet tall, staring at me, high level. Scared the shit out of me.
Snuffy was 10 feet long in 1960. He was probably bigger by then.
What was his name?
12 foot long.
Snuffy.
Snuffy the snake.
Snuffy, yeah. I've got a picture of him draped over my shoulders.
Yeah, I think we all do. I think we all do.
You're the
y'all remember Doc Slonsky?
Snakes only eat once in a while. Who?
Doc Slonsky?
Who?
My hooch mate?
Yeah.
He suffered from PTSD apparently very bad. I'd called his office here about 3 or 4 years ago, and he didn't want to talk to me, but he would communicate through his nurse, and he wanted to make sure that I was who I said I was. And the trick question he had her ask me was, what was the name of the snake outside our hooch? And I told him, and you could hear him laughing in the background, but he didn't want to talk about anything.
Yeah.
Was that Ben Tantone or B41 you had the snake?
B41.
B41.
Ben Tantone had several.
I think every camp had
Yeah.
snake.
Yeah.
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 I remember
4140.
feeding them rats and stuff. We'd catch the rats. The story was you
We
didn't
used
want to
to-
kill the rat because they had fleas on them that might give you the plague or something. So you had to catch the rats and feed them to the snakes, that sort of thing. If snakes were hungry, you could see them when a dog would walk by the cage, you could see the snakes get all ready to go. So then you know they were hungry. But if you fed them, they probably take 2 or 3 weeks before they needed some more feeding.
Yeah, about once a month, we'd feed a chicken to Snuffy, and that
Yeah.
was the social event of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
Really?
gathered around.
We'd take
And,
bets. We'd take bets on when the chicken was gonna disappear.
Yeah,
Uh,
Snuffy would be real quiet, and then suddenly, snap, he'd grab that chicken and throw a half hitch around him, and then he'd kill it, and then he'd start stuffing him into his mouth. And that process took a long time.
Head first.
And yeah, he'd crawl off into a corner and digest for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
You seen a pile with feathers in it. The feathers did not digest.
Yeah, the feathers and the beak come back out.
I think we fed them some geese also.
Oh yeah.
We put one of them ugly ducks, old black-headed red. He never did eat it.
Yeah, Muscovy.
Yeah.
Hey, talking about the chicken beak and stuff reminds me of another
I was
story.
like running around in.
How many of you guys ate any of those thousand day eggs?
One.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's like here in the States, you go to a kind of a localized bar and they got eggs in a jar for you, Well, over there, they used to have it at the Vietnamese Officers Club or NGO Club, at the equivalent of B41, right in back of B41, where our counterparts were. My counterpart got me over there one night. He got me half drunk, and they were waiting for this, I'm pretty sure. But they had the egg. It was a big old goose egg, and what it is it takes 21 days for the egg to hatch. Well, at about 19 days, they take it away from the goose or the chicken that's sitting on it. And so it's all formed. It's got the feathers, it's got the beak, it's got the legs and all that stuff. But anyway, they put those on the bar, and that's what that's a delicacy.
Yeah.
Well, and the big deal is, can you get that sucker down? You ain't a man if you can't. Well,
I remember drinking chicken blood. Remember?
Yeah.
You go up drinking with the Vietnamese, you had to drink chicken blood.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, I got the whole damn thing down, but I could not get the beak, and I couldn't get the claws or the legs down. But God damn.
Pretty good though.
Yeah.
When you'd go out in the country and have dinner out in the field with the Vietnamese, they'd always serve what I always called hack chicken, because they wouldn't get it in pieces. They just chop the whole thing up. So you could eat it with chopsticks. And then I discovered that the real delicacy piece was the head. And my counterpart
we always got the head and the
on my
feet.
plate. Well, I quickly figured out how to deal with this, which I thought was pretty clever. As soon as the platter got to the plate, I would quickly spear that head and put it on my counterpart's plate. Ooh, this was a big deal. I was being really polite to my counterpart, and I didn't have to eat the goddamn head.
Well, they used to try to
Does
serve us.
anybody know if Sergeant Major Swagel is alive?
I wouldn't think so.
Do you remember him at Moc Hoa?
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember. He took over and he got the Navy they were SSP in the airfield getting ready for the assault into Cambodia. And he went out there and he didn't want to get his boots muddy anymore inside B41. Remember he had paved the whole inside of the compound there with SSP. And then when we got mortared with that crap in there, that just threw shit everywhere. Cause when I was there, my duty station was at 81 pit up by the front gate and trying to get to that. And I was there. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. He was over with S4 and Jimmy Morris was in S4 and we started taking incoming and I was living in that little hooch there back behind Snuffy. And I ran like hell to get up to the mortar pit. And just as I was going into the mortar pit itself, through the L doors, that's when, I guess I can't remember his name, he dropped around and it blew up in two.
Yeah.
And just about cut him in half. And all I could do was hold him for a few seconds. And Sanders, the medic, got in there and there was nothing we could do, and the tube was gone. But I cannot remember that man's name.
I remember that. I was out to 414. I remember the story because you guys and every night while you guys we'd give you some coordinates and all that stuff. Each one of the teams would, and you guys with the 4.2 would run H&I file on our coordinates out there that we'd given you for. But yeah, I remember that. And
right after
yeah, the story that I heard was that he's at the club and he looked, oh shit, it's time for the H&I fire. And out he goes, and the next thing you know, there's that big explosion out there. At least that's the story we got when we were at 414.
Yeah. No, we had taken incoming, and it hit the street out in front, and then I think that was the night another one hit the NCO club, and I was running to get to that mortar pit, and it just went boom, and then. I don't know whether, I just don't know his name. I wasn't there long enough, I guess, maybe. But then, and if any of you know him, remember old Koplo, old Polak, Polish Black Watch, NCO, best weapons man that SF ever had. And he's the one that taught me to, well, when we start taking incoming, you get out there and you find the hole where the round hit, you take a stick and you stick it in the hole, and that'll give me the azimuth to shoot back. And he was a genius. And it was a lot of crazy times. We used to run out on the levee past 402. He was the one that chained a 106 recoilless in the back of a 3/4 ton. It had some little brackets he personally made. He could put sights off an 81 millimeter mortar on it, and he could shoot that 106 like an artillery piece. And the night it blew up on us out there was a crazy night.
You're talking about a 105 or a recoilless rifle? Are you talking about recoilless rifle?
Yes, it was a recoilless rifle.
106 recoilless.
Yeah, we had one at BTT also.
We borrowed it from 402.
Well, we had one at 413 also.
And Stags used to bitch. Well, Stag used to bitch. We'd take it out and shoot, and we'd come back, and we went into, and it went and blew. I was locking and loading for him, and the FAC had targets for us. And he said, "You're putting it on and putting them on," and we exceeded the rate of fire. And all I remember was I closed the breech, and luckily, I can remember I had the handle, that little round ball in my hand when that gun blew, and it threw me in the canal. Luckily, Cotlo got off the gun. It threw the gun clean over the canal, was sticking in the mud on the other side. And he's out there looking for that sight. We got the gun, put it all back. We stopped by 402, and Sergeant Staggs was bitching. He says, "When are you guys going to give me my 106 back and clean it?" And all Cotlo said, with the ringing in our ears still, You don't got them no gun no more.
Well, we started
Well,
fire with ours.
and that's all it was pieces. I think back on the crazy crap we did, because how did any of us live through the shit we were doing to ourselves?
First time we did our 105, we did it in the compound and started fire on one of the hooches for the Vietnamese. So then we would take it, we had it on a deuce and a half, so we'd take it outside. We wanted to fire it. So the backfire wouldn't start fire. Then, we had somebody, what we did, we took fingernail polish and put it on there, and we know how high to raise it. Then somebody would say how far it went, and then that would be 1,000 yards or whatever it was. We had 3 marks with fingernail polish. Use it like a mortar, sort of, or artillery.
Look, from 1968 times, anybody remember SFC Grady Hansen? Let's see.
Was it
Grady Houston and a Spec 5 Lewis Wallace.
I think I remember it was Wallace, a medic. Wallace might have been a medic, right?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out.
No, Houston was the S4 NCO at the B team while I was there.
Okay. All right.
I was the S4 for about 3 months.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Look, I don't know how many of you have got the reprints of the Green Beret magazines that I did some years ago. They're a 5-volume set where each of the monthly magazines inside, 52 magazines. And they're kind of like having a yearbook. They're available at my site. But in the first issue that came out, they said there was a sign at detachment B41 saying, "Yea, though I walk through the plains of reeds in the shadow of death, I fear no evil because I'm the meanest mudder in the reeds." I don't know if that sign was still around, but that was in the 66 magazine.
There were variations of that slogan all over Vietnam.
Of course.
Yeah.
But this was a story.
I've got your condensed versions, but I've also got all the original magazines of 68, 69, and 70. Well, I actually sent them about 3 more months after I was medevac. But I was sending them home to my dad, and he said he wasn't getting them. So I finally started folding my half and put the label on, and I put it to his rank, Lieutenant Colonel William O. Amelot. Then he started getting them, and he saved all of those for me. And I got them in a big 3-ring out here. And the condensed version doesn't do justice to the actual magazines if you were in country and you had that version.
You compare them, but they are page for page exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah.
My version has got an index.
Yeah, I've got your books out here too.
They are not condensed, just consolidated.
Yeah. So it's I think that monthly magazine was one of the few things that kept a lot of guys in touch. Or well, that's how a lot of times we knew who got killed where, when you looked at that part of that magazine.
Yep.
Well, my name is Eugene Montani.
Yes.
Can
Good.
you hear me?
I can hear you. Look forward to it.
Okay. I came up to B41 April of 1970 to become the funds officer. I came up from a 415 Tuinan. I was actually supposed to go out on the operation into Cambodia, but then the orders came down for me to go up and be funds officer. So I actually ended up closing down all the A camps for B41 plus B41 as for when Nixon for the Vietnamization program. So I was there to close out all the camps and, like I say, B-41.
Tell us
And
about that.
talking about Snuffy, I was walking back to my hooch, which was right behind Snuffy's cage. And I looked into the cage and there was no Snuffy. Snuffy wasn't there. Some person fed him or was going to feed him, and he didn't lock the door. The door was enough that he got out, and I looked down the drainage ditch, and there he's slithering out the drainage ditch out, headed to go outside. So I ran down yelling for other people, and I caught him behind the head. And it took 5 other people plus myself to actually get him back in his hooch because he had
Sounds
got
like a
that big.
boa constrictor.
Yeah, we had big ones over there.
Yeah. He was at least 20 feet by that time, and
Yeah.
he was probably about that big around in the middle.
Yeah, I figure Snuffy never
Well,
would have
how
made
did
it
I
to the
get-
outside. He led such a sheltered life.
He was well fed, that was for
It's
sure.
like we had because every camp had one. The one down at 404 was named Chiquita. And Mex Mesa, the medic, was his baby. He fed him chickens and everything else. And we said, why do you take good care of that snake, Max? He said, I got to get that sucker big enough so when I ETS, I'm skinning him, and I'm going to have me a pair of boots and a vest made out of his ass. And he did. When he left, we skinned him, and Max rolled it up. I took it home with him. I never did find out if he got the pair of boots made, but we ate that snake for about a month. We cut it up, and it was about inch thick pork chops, and it ain't good.
Soy
It
sauce.
wasn't bad.
Soy sauce.
But that's, I don't know, every team had a snake.
Nook Mom. Could have been good with Nook Mom.
Yeah.
Eugene, you probably replaced Bob Ayers, did you, as the funds officer? Remember Bob Ayers?
Yes, I did.
He was
Correct.
a good man.
Yes.
He was a good guy.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he passed. I tried to track him down, I don't know, a year or so ago, and he had just passed away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was going home when I was coming up to, I think I was there about a week or two. He was helping me out and that, but I
Yep.
was a funds officer down at 8415 anyways. So,
okay.
So I knew the routine and everything. So yeah, there was, I don't know his name. He was an S4 officer, captain. He was going home and his chopper went down on his way from Moc Hoa to Canto, I think, in between. And I can't remember his name.
Was that David Coppernall?
What year would that have been?
70.
Okay.
Because I got up before I got up there at B41 April, about the middle of April from Tuinan.
Yeah. Did Carl McCoon come up to 289 after we closed 412 out?
What's that?
Did Carl McCoon come up to 289? I think that's where he was assigned after we closed 412 out.
He might have come there after I left. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Carl's having a pretty rough time now. I talk to him about once or twice a month. Yeah, I closed out and they said Lieutenant Chavez is still kicking. They left me and couldn't leave me at King Kwan by myself to finish that defensive project. And they left Lieutenant Chavez there with me till we got it done. And then I got up to B41 for a short period, in and out. Somehow they were always short 12 Bravos, so I got farmed around till I got down to boats. Once I got off kind of the Navy, I said, I ain't going back to Vietnam. And I just stayed up there, and I really wasn't planning on leaving. So the way I did, they closed camp. My next step was going to be B-46 company in Thailand. But I never got the chance.
Speaking of the closing out and all that stuff, I've got a little follow on. Some of you probably wonder what happened to all the house girls and the interpreters and all that stuff. But I went back in 71 with the FANC program. And when I got to Phuoc Tuy, where we were running one of the FANC programs, lo and behold, in the mess hall, and there was 2 or 3 of the house girls from B-41 that I remembered were there. And then also some of the interpreters that I had worked with at 415 and 414 were now interpreters because they down there where we were, most of them were Cambodians anyway. So they spoke, Cambodian. So they kept on as interpreters during the FANC program. So makes you wonder what happened to them after we finally.
Did you happen to run into Fred?
I don't.
He was an interpreter for 415.
I would have to say no. The one that I really remember is, y'all remember the Green Beret fiasco there when they happened at 414. The head interpreter out there, Fawn, he got picked up in that whole thing when that Abrams threw everybody in jail. He didn't get thrown in jail. He was out there then as an interpreter for the Cambodians. But he told me that they put him inside of it. They built him a box and put him inside this box to ship back to Cambodia, and gave him enough food and stuff. And he stayed, and they put him on a truck of some equipment that was being sent to Cambodia, and they didn't open up the box until he got back to Phnom Penh. And he was kind of a high wig anyway with the because he was the lead guy for the spy program that CIA and had going on. But he stayed in Phnom Penh for quite some time, and then when we started training the Cambodians, he came back as one of the big wigs for the Cambodian program, and was the lead guy at Phuoc Tuy for the Cambodian program. So makes you wonder whatever happened to him. Makes you wonder what happened to any of them when we finally pulled on out. I was there when we did finally pull on out, and we just gave him severance pay and left him.
Do you remember Ludwig? Do you remember Ludwig, the interpreter? He was at 414.
Now, the only one that I really remember was Fawn, because I worked fairly closely with, Lieutenant Martin or Captain Roscoe. And I remember Fawn being his main guy for running all the operations going into Cambodia at the time.
That Vietnamization, the funds officer here, I forget your name, but you helped with decommissioning all the A camps under B-41. I didn't realize they all went at once.
They were all closed down.
A414 was one of the first after that Green Beret affair, and our counterparts realized we were running.
Well, they were turned over, I guess, to like Rangers or something like that is what it became, But we closed them out as special forces camps, and then they became Ranger battalions or whatever. I understand.
Then all the special forces, or most of the special forces camps, became border ranger battalions. In 4 Corps, unlike the other areas, it was about less than 2 years later that they brought them all together. I guess it was maybe after 72. They brought all of the 10 ranger camps in Fort Corps together to do an assault on Nui Koto, which they did very well. And they also had cleared out, was it the Tram Forest area, an area somewhere near Moc Hoa, which was a safe haven for the NBA or VC. So Fort Corps was pretty cleaned up after the 72 offensive. And all of the border ranger camps were turned over to Rough Puff, and the border rangers went to other Corps areas. I'm surprised they got them to move, but they went out to the other Corps areas to act as formal ranger battalions. So it's pretty impressive to understand that these guys, the LLDB, who had been basically oppressing the CIDG by ripping them off for their pay, for their haircuts, for their uniforms.
Yeah.
Then instead of replacing them with other officers from the Ranger battalions, they left them there with the CIDG all over the country. And it turns out that once they eliminated the high command for the Vietnamese Special Forces, these guys that were the LLDB commanders actually became good soldiers because they're out there on their own. They had no resources, much less than they had with Special Forces. And they didn't have to pay off the B team and the C team. That's the best I can figure out and why. We had SF camps turned over that lasted right into 1974. And some of them had undergone some major sieges and did quite well. So the work that SF did paid off with the CIDG program. Anyway.
I don't remember too much about my CIDG at Tuinan, but I do remember them at Tan Tree, and I always thought they were good. And I developed a real good relationship with a couple of the CIDG company commanders, and I thought they were real aggressive. And because when I first went to Tuinan, not Tuinan, but Tan Tree, they, for whatever reason, they wasn't doing much out there. And that's one of the reasons that I was sent on out there. And then at the same time, within 2 or 3 days of me getting there, the B team replaced the A team guy, or the
come up. He's
Vietnamese A team guy out there too. They got a new guy in, and he was real aggressive, and we did some pretty good things. Or let's put it this way, we were going fairly well when I rotated, and then unfortunately the Vietnamese, my Vietnamese counterpart, he was killed along with Colonel Beck and Captain Janicio, my replacement. So I don't know how it all went after that.
Gentlemen, I need to say thank you for this Zoom call. Steve, thank you for doing this. And I'm so happy to see you, gentlemen, and I salute every single one of you and hope to see you again soon. Bill, glad to see your face after 50 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's been. I'm still in the Delta. I live down here in the bottom end of the Delta, the St. Francis in the swamp.
All right.
I mean, my nearest neighbor is 2.5 miles away.
All right.
But yeah, it's I keep in touch with Carl McCoon and Don Blue, and I don't, well, he was not in Vietnam that much. It was Don Nickham, who he worked for the agency a lot. And after I went, because I was with the Navy up there so much in 404, that was in a lot of ways, the boat team was a messed up team. During the wet season, you had 2 NCOs, and the way you went with boats, whether you're signed up to Tom Tree or Tuinan or wherever with a section of the boat for the water. And we got sent up to the Navy, me and Bob Todd. Then 4 or 5 months later, it started drying up. You came back to camp, and hell, half the camp had ETS'd or changed, and you never knew who the hell was who. And then the Navy started keeping me up there during the dry season, because the canal was only 500 yards to Cambodia. And I would run dry patrol for them while they were on every night at waterborne guard watch with the boats. And yeah, it's, and then when I got blown up, I got sent out, and then they would send you, the policy would send you the closest major military hospital that could take care of you. And to me, from St. Louis, I got stuck in the Great Lakes Naval Hospital. Well, that totally took me out of communication with everybody, and I was there for almost 18 months. And then thank God, Billy Alexander's, I said, will you please get me the hell out of here? And I had an old veteran, in his 80s, and I was the only NCO there, so I was NCO, the young guy just wanted to get out of the military, get healed up and get gone. And this old sergeant told me, he said, well, you're gonna go for your disability boards. If they offer you 50% permanent, take it if you want. If they offer you anything less, or if the word temporary is in it, tell them to stick it in their ass. And they offered me 40% temporary. And I said, what the hell? Wasn't a bad life. I picked up the telephone and talked to that little old lady in tennis shoes up in DA, Mrs. Alexander, and said, get me out of here. And within 3 days, I was on my way to Fort Bragg. And then, for whatever known reason, I was only at Fort Bragg less than a year, 72, and came down on orders for 1st Battalion 10th SFD Europe, Bad Hulse. And I don't know if the name Fritz Schiller rings a bell to anybody, but he said, Willie, you're going to get planted in Bavaria, and we're going to have to pry your ass out of there with a crowbar. And that was true. I spent 8 years there, and then came back to the 10th and retired out of the 10th at Fort Devens.
Bad Toltz was the best, man. It was the best.
Oh, yeah. Even though you had to put up with Pialetti and Feisenheimer.
Yeah.
King Ludwig was King Ludwig. He never mixed words. You couldn't, well, when you went in. Well, here, the day I arrived, August 2nd, my wife and we came down on the train from Munich, got off the train station, and my sponsor was J.D. Holland, and he introduced his wife to my wife, and he said, son, Emma, you and I got to go now. And boom, away we went, run me up to S4. Ralph Keith throwing me a new set of fatigues, uniform, web gear, weapon, and shit, 200 rounds of ammo. Well,
you're cutting in and out.
I'm going, what the hell is going on? That's the day they bombed the Olympics. They set out the bombs in the Olympic Stadium. Yeah, my internet's fading in and out. But I remember sitting there saying, damn, I just left Vietnam not too far ago, and I'm going into another war in Europe. But Bad Toltz was some of my best years of my career. And I didn't mind Feisenheimer at all. He said, this is my kingdom, and you want to play by my rules, you can join the club. If you don't, I'll have orders for you somewhere in 24 hours. But you didn't sign in until you interviewed with, at that time, we started Major Pialetti and King Ludwig. But,
Max was my boss in play too. But before you guys all disappear, I'm going to see you all, I hope, again later this week when we go to the different A teams. But please note on the email that I sent you, all the other names in the toolbox include people who aren't here. Actually, I probably sent out more than 50 emails to people from B41. I'm not going to come back and revisit this again because I've got I got the last 6 more teams in Vietnam to do, and then a little bit of cleanup. But your guys are welcome to use that toolbox and gather people together and do whatever you want. You get 40 minutes for free on Zoom, or you can make it a little fancier or just multiply it a couple times around. But, you know, as I said, I hope to see most of you again on individual A teams, but keeping up with this group, I think that what I saw here was a bunch of people who had a lot of shared experiences that I hope you don't let fritter away after this is over. You keep together.
And we got a new one over here. James Thompson.
Yeah, he was here before, but he didn't say anything. He disappeared.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Hey, before we all go, let me take and just say that you know, Steve, first of all, thanks for hosting this. And yeah, I'll see a couple of you again for 415 and 414. But what I've been doing since actually since I retired, so I've been doing it for a few years. But and this is something I'm going to offer for you guys. If any of you are involved in hunting in good shape, I've been involved with the Wounded Warrior Project, or not the Wounded Warrior Project, Wounded Warrior Hunting. I've been involved with that for 18, 19 years. And I'm the manager for a couple of real good hunts. If any of you are interested in deer hunting, I can get you, I've got your email addresses, you got mine. So if you're interested, I can get you on a super, almost 100% guaranteed whitetail hunt. It's a 3-day hunt. They put us up. They provide us meals. When you leave there, you'll be glad that that you did what you did and all the sacrifices you did, because they're real good Americans. And you won't need a license. I can cover that. I get a waiver from the state. All you got to do is be able to get it. You have to get it in North Carolina. But if you're interested, contact me and I will give you the details. It takes place in November, the first weekend before Thanksgiving.
With all due respect, if I'm going to tramp around in the woods and get shot at,
No.
I'll get paid for it.
Yeah. They want you don't even tramp around the woods.
Is it Halifax County?
They'll put you in a stand and make sure you get up there and everything. You sit there and play with the phone and all that stuff, and look up and there's Bullwinkle. You shoot him, and you call the guy to put you in the stand. He'll come back and take pictures of it before you get out of your stand. He'll take and throw the deer in the back of the truck. You don't have to skin it. They'll take care of the whole damn line. All you gotta do is be there and say thank you afterwards.
What part of North Carolina is that?
Okay, it takes place just a little above Hillsborough, North Carolina.
Oh yeah. Halifax?
No, it's in Durham County, Pearson County, Orange County. It's a bunch of farmers that ordinarily wouldn't let you go hunting there. Right. But for 3 days, they open up the land for us to hunt on.
Yeah, well, I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and my brother does it up around, same thing with the Wounded Warriors and that sort of thing up around the Halifax and also eastern North Carolina and Nash County.
Okay.
So yeah. We've been doing that for years with them.
Yeah, and I guess I do some of the similar stuff. This is called the Caldwell hunt. It's a little tiny community called Caldwell. Matter of fact, if you Google Caldwell or Caldwell Hunting Club, they've got a website and they got all sorts of pictures. And you might even see me on there.
All right.
So I'd be glad to put you on it if you're interested.
Well, I want to thank Steve for getting us together, and I'll see some of you guys later in the week at 414. So I'm signing off.
Yeah, I am too.
Hey, John Harrelson.
I'm gonna click out also, but I want to thank you, Steve, because I got your phone number, and we're gonna have to probably ring around to Rosie to get me back in this picture again.
Yeah,
Do not get along.
John,
Yo,
are you with Chapter 11?
I,
Your name rings a bell.
I was the president of it after Charlie Norton. I'm now in Florida in Chapter 21.
Okay, you look familiar.
There you go. Good to see you.
Same here.
Captain Kittredge, good seeing you again, sir. Take care.
What's your name? Is it Aldridge?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, good to run into you after 53 years. I'm gonna sign off too. Enjoyed meeting with you guys.
Honored to serve with you,
I'll see you
gentlemen.
tomorrow or the next day, Willie.
Thanks, man.
Will do.
Thanks for doing this, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Happy to have you.
Much
here.
obliged, Steve.
Really appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Benny, you're here for the next meeting here for 411, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jim Thompson,
Yes,
are you also 411?
411.
Okay. So you guys are
Here we doing 404.
404 is my next project, next B team. It'll take me about 2 weeks to find everybody, and then I'll send them messages out like I did for this series of teams.
Okay. Okay.
So
I'll probably step out of the picture until I hear from you on that. Because I'm up to my ass in alligators here.
yeah, you got a bunch of A
Take 'em
teams
out.
over here. You were on a couple of the 4 B41 A teams, and that's this week.
Well, I just up. Well, 412 is the only one I was on. I
Well,
was in and out of a lot of them. Just
412 is tomorrow. It's
okay. I'm trying to get back into this.
412 is tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably be calling you about. an
Now,
hour
get it
before,
done
see if I can get
before.
back
Don't
into
get
it.
it done in the middle of the damn meeting. I had to go away. I missed
I'll call
a
you
long
before.
time.
I'll be glad to get on this and sit and wait. Yeah. Now, me and computers don't get along.
It's not-
I'm a demo man. I'm a demo man.
And said he recognized me.
This is not so hard. You finally figured out how to do it. So therefore, it can't be possibly be that hard.
Well, what it is I'm married to a fine lady that worked for AT&T for 35 years and ran the whole computer program for them. And she kept me on mushroom status as far as the computers go. No, you don't. You train the dogs. I'll take care of the office. And that's where I'm at. And when she left, I'm sitting here, got a nice big thing here. I can turn it on. Today was very enjoyable.
Yes.
Well, the people who missed it really missed a good thing. And as I said, there are 57 or so names on that two box in the email. So a lot of people missed out.
Shame. Shame.
How many
Had you
other
already- Steve, had you already done Meet in High? Had you already done the Meet in High 412?
Meet in High, yeah.
Did they have a good turnout? Good turnout?
No, but it was a really good meeting because there were only like 5 people there. One of them had married the nurse, and the nurse was there. So he and the nurse were there. The other one was the second capo officer on the team, and then the widow of the third capo officer, and the son of the XO of the original team, and then there's one other guy that was there. And they covered so much of the history of the camp with those few people that it was really a good session. But if you look at my website, you'll see I-Corps camps, and 20 people was kind of the average up in I-Corps for an A team. And the girl who's helping me with the editing has edited all of the I-Corps camps. She's behind on the other stuff, but she edited all of those, and she did a really, really good job. So that the I-Corps camp videos are really good.
Was John Mondrick happen to be on the meeting, Lieutenant John Mondrick?
On Median High, no.
I've lost contact with him. I can't find him anywhere.
Well, call me up because I've got pretty good names, contact information for just about everybody. And if I can't find them, you might give me a few clues. Like yesterday, I did an impromptu session with a very early A team. And the day before we did that session, I found two people that we had never seen. And those are people from 1963.
My goodness.
I was able to pull them out somehow. Just I don't even know how I did it. It was sort of miraculous.
I've got a picture of our team together before we had the change command with Colonel Rowe coming in. I'll try to get that downloaded to your site.
Okay. Do sign up on that photo site. It's underused as far as I'm concerned. And it really can come up to be a great thing if people would get on it.
Yeah.
Any other people here from 411 who are going to be staying here? Okay. Wayne, I didn't hear from you at all while you were here.
I've just been pleased to be able to hear a lot of good things. I didn't get there to 69, then left March of 70, and thankful I'm doing well. Thank you very much for the history y'all left and the roads y'all and the trails y'all left for us to continue on. Thank you.
Stephen, I got one name you might want to look up, Jerry White. Jerry White was in the early 60s before it was really A teams and all that. I mean, there were A teams, but there weren't bases. So Jerry White, he was a major when I knew him in 63 or 2 or something.
He died in 2008.
Okay, I think I wouldn't doubt that one bit, but I was a good buddy of him in North Carolina, and he gave me a lot of good stories about before.
He was up at B-24 in 2 Corps.
Yeah, right, 2 Corps, that's right. So anyhow, he was pretty interesting guy too.
So you want to leave it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So,
I see somebody's got a secretary.
Okay, John Mondrick. I talked to him in Durhamville, New York. So it's just, who's asking about John? I think that guy's got. Anyway, I've got email and phone numbers for him.
On your I-Corps team, Steve, have you, anybody queried you about Rowdy Yates? Rowdy passed away about 3 years ago.
Yeah, no, that I got. He was also in SOG.
Yeah. He gave it up and threw all that and threw all his SF years in the trash can, put a lid on it, and became a Baptist minister, and wouldn't even talk to us about it anymore. And just because I was close to him, and he helped with Greg Barnett, and then all of a sudden he got cancer and he just slipped out of Dodge, went back up to Michigan or Minnesota, and Marie called us who were close to him and said, yeah, he's gone.
I think he came back to Alabama when he went.
Well, he lived in Alabama. That's where he left Alabama when he got cancer, and went back up. I don't know his home, where his home was. Is it Michigan or Minnesota? I don't know exactly. And then Marie, he just went off the net, and Marie called me and Greg Barnett and said, Rowdy's gone. So other than that, we don't know. Now, this is just a little tidbit of up at the old 10th, what's left of it up in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, New England. We had a pretty good birthday party up there a few weeks ago for if it rings a bell, for Bear Reinitzer. He's 94 years old. And Bear started as a POW in World War II and got a job in the Army. And
I see so far.
that's
Benny.
it.
I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut off the recording here because we're not going to get ready for the next one here. But just keep on talking. I'm just going to stop the recording.